Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to this virtual platform. I would like to introduce Mr. Sivaraman. Mr. Sivaraman is a chartered civil engineer with 26 years of experience providing end-to-end solutions in planning, designing, procurement, and execution of projects to EPC, LSTK, and other project delivery models using various contract forms. He has managed more than 100 million square feet of campus development, fit out projects, including including hotels, resorts, restaurants, multiplex, multi-story residential, commercial, and public utility projects, IT parks, RD centers, hospitals, highways, industries, etc. He is a certified project management professional and a fellow of Institution of Technical Arbitrators. He acts as an expert witness in alternate dispute resolution process in India and Saudi Arabia. On behalf of CMTI and Sai Vidya Institute of Technology, I extend a warm welcome to you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rasik, for the introduction. And today we are going to discuss and share knowledge about one more interesting topic in project management, basics of project planning. And there are several videos, different methodologies, so much of classes, so many things are going around. And today I would like to share the same subject from the point of view of my experience and my interactions with the planning team and the role as planner in many projects. So to start with, what is a project? This question has different definitions, but the Project Management International gives a proper definition. And we see, since most of you are students, and that I don't want to load you with too much of technical stuff with the Project Management Institute stuff. That is tough language, and then it's almost dry. So my intention today is to share that with a light text and then with little graphics. That's all. So to go ahead, if you look at this world is full of projects. World is full of project. Everywhere you see that many businesses are there. Everything has a project inbuilt into it. Anywhere the business value is created, where the business is running, or this whatever is even a small activity. If you want to go and top up your mobile phone at the shop, even that also comes under a project. So you may be wondering that if everything is a project, then what is the definition of a project? Every activity comes under the purview of or the under the ambit of a project, or the possibility to be called as a project, because projects are temporary in nature and unique. Each activity is different. Even if you build the same house or same type of house in two different locations adjacent to each other, the geographical locations are different, the soil type is different, the time in which you build them is different. So it is unique, even though the geometry looks same, the structure looks same, but these two are too different. Each one will have its own problem, because different set of people will be building the same house. So every project is unique in nature. And then time bound. Time bound means it has a definite start, and whatever started should come to an end. So it has a definite end. It has a start and end, and it is within the time you have to complete it. This is one of the definition or one of the characters of a project. And then it should come as a result. A value creation can be as a result, or a product, or a service. Any of that, it should result. At the end of the project, we should be able to get any of this. So then that can be called as a project. Then it has constraints. Constraints in the sense, a lot of limitations will be there. There will be a budget constraint, cost constraint, space constraint, time constraint, resource constraint. Now, because of this COVID-19, we are not getting the labor force. This is a constraint. So like this, every project has many constraints built into it by way of its resources, cost, time, and budget. So despite we have various constraints, there are three constraints, or the principal constraints, three principal constraints in any project, and some of them funnily called as three idiots, because they are too much influencing into the performance of any project. They are scope, cost, and time. Scope is something what you and your project team will be doing to do the project, to complete the project. And time is what within that scheduled time you have to perform that budget within the budget and then work. And cost is the within the cost you have to complete that project. This is what the money you have in pocket. We cannot plan for something which for which you don't have money. So the quality is a component built in into between all these constraints, which means if you change any of this scope, time, and cost, the quality also will change. The area of the triangle will change if you change any of these point. And one more property is this: if you change any one point out of these three triangles, two other things also will get affected. If you change the time, or if your project is running late, it is not going to be coming in within the budget. It is going to be out of the budget. So at least one other element will be affected. These are the characters of the project. Whichever activity or whatever you do, if they are falling into these categories or falling into these definitions, they are called as project. So now we call it as a project planning. Then what do we know about planning? What is called a planning? Yeah. Project planning is a process of establishing the scope, defining the activities and steps to attain them. These are the most important processes that make up the project management as a whole. The Project Management Institute has 5 process groups, 10 knowledge areas as a matrix, and altogether 49 processes to accomplish the total spectrum of project management. Out of all that, the planning is next. When you talk about project management, it is the word itself is incomplete without planning. So planning has that important, and it is one of the leading activities to be done by a project team to be involved uh, before even you start digging the ground. In construction parlance, before even you start digging the ground, this is what you need to do it. Okay, when you do the project planning, the output of project planning process is what is called a project management plan. This is called the guiding document from now onwards until the completion of the project and even beyond. And this is going to be the governing document, which is called a project management plan. This comes as a result of the planning process. The project management plan is a roadmap that determines in advance what, when, how, and who will take the necessary actions to accomplish the established project objectives. Okay, next, why we should plan a project? Why is it important? If you think about it, when you go into a crowd and you don't know where to go, you don't have any direction to go, then this is how, without a plan, one can easily get lost in the crowd. There are so many challenges around a project by individuals, by groups, by government, by nature, everything. So if you don't have a proper plan, you will be lost in the crowd. For example, in India, we all know that train does not come on time. But still, every year, rigorously, the Indian Railways is printing the timetable and selling on the platform stalls. Why? When we know that the train doesn't come on time, why should we religiously print the timetable every year and give it? Because if you don't have the timetable, how do you know whether the train is running on time or late? And if late, how much delayed the train is? So we'll have nothing to refer from. That is why the project plan is not only a guiding document, it is going to be a referring document to go further. And in planning, the other important aspects or the functions, the why we should do planning is it improve communication with your clients. When the clients are the one who have invested money and then waiting for the results to enjoy, to create value to their organization. So it improves communication with the clients. When you will do what is expected out of the client, and who will do what kind of works within the project to accomplish the work. And it increases the transparency of your own work. When you are dealing with somebody's money as a project team member or a project manager, you will be playing with somebody's money. You are working for somebody's dreams to come true. So there must be an accountability and transparency in what you are doing. So that is why it increases the transparency of your own work, and you become more organized. If you don't have a plan, You don't know when the resource will come into action or when the resource should be released. Yeah, and this will unnecessarily add up to the project budget and increase the cost and other connected problems. If you don't have the plan, this is what will happen. And finally, focus on the project goal. So the project plan will enable us to focus on the work, all the work, and only the work which is required to accomplish the project goal. What if we don't plan? What will happen? There are many projects, small, big, which are done without any plan. For example, if your parents are sending you to a grocery shop, when that is also being planned without you don't sit in the on the table with the pen and paper and then scribble it. What is your project plan? Wearing your t-shirt, taking the bike, starting the bike like that. You don't make a plan, but still spontaneously you go to the market, buy things and come back, which means planning is happening just like that within your mind spontaneously, because you have done it many times, and this time without much scribbling on paper you are able to do it. This is a small kind of project, but bigger projects, bigger challenges will be there, bigger threats will be there, bigger surprises will be there. To avoid, project planning is required. This is one such example. You see this road, where is you can see the lamp poles, which direction the lamp pole is showing. So this is a lack of coordination. How many poles you see? How many poles they have done it, and then how long this road is made? And this is one such example. And before you start doing anything, and decide how you are going to finish it. Otherwise, you will be cornered like this, cornered by your clients, cornered by your own team, cornered by the sponsors, cornered by other stakeholders, internal and external, like the contractor. If you don't know how to run the project, and this is how you will be cornered. Without with misplaced priorities, this is how you will be cornered. So now, after knowing all these things, the project planning scenario seems to be very tough, very complex, very cumbersome. Yes, of course, but if you have proper processes, proper ideology systems in place, and this will be as little simpler than this, little organized, and you can do it a little bit better like this in an organized fashion. Next, when we go, and what are the stages of planning? How to do the planning? When you know what is the project, what is the planning, and then how important is the project planning, then what are the stages of plan? How to do it? There are different stages involved in it. There are several methodologies of project planning based on the project development methodology or project delivery model. But this one is the basic and very simplistic model. Outline the business case, meet with stakeholders, define project scope, set goals and objectives, outline deliverables, develop project schedule, assign tasks to resources, assess risk and plan risk responses, and report the progress. These are the stages of project planning a planning engineer normally does or expected to do. Now we'll see one by one in a detailed manner. The outline the business case. Business case is the beginning document. It is the parent document. It answers the question why we do the project, how it is going to create the value to the organization or an individual after completing this project. So when the question is answered for why, and that is called a business case. Here, while doing a business case, how you will arrive at the business case? What are the input data and information required? Validate that an opportunity exists. There is a need for a project. There is an opportunity for a project. Validate it, whether it is correct or wrong, or because the project selection may, if it is wrongly selected and midway you will stop the project, all the money, time, energy, everything will be waste. So first we have to analyze and then agree with the end user or the project sponsor that we are taking up the right kind of project, whether the opportunity exists really. Alignment with corporate objectives. Whatever project you take up, it should not be against your company policies or against the general general law or something, and establish a benefit realization plan. How you are going to reap the benefit at the end of the project in one time or over a period of time in 5 years or 10 years. What is the payback period of this project? How are we going to recover the cost? How are we going to engage with the benefits? And identify project objectives. What it is likely to, or what we are focusing to achieve at the end of the project objective. Establish the priority. So a project can have multiple phases or multiple projects built in within it, which we normally call as a group of projects. We normally call as a programs, and a group of programs, connected programs. We call it as a portfolio. So these are the different methodologies which the project PMI, the Project Management Institute, is defining. But it will be little complicated if I start explaining now. So the priority we have to see, which if a group of projects are there, which project to take up first, which can go last, or which are in the next priorities we have to see. Identify resource needs. What kind of people are there? What kind of resources are required? What kind of machines, equipment, then the labor force, and then the skill level of people, what kind of resources are required. Identify assumptions and constraints. To achieve this objective, what are the assumptions we consider? We consider that the climate is very good throughout the year, or the labor force will be available all through the year, and then these are the assumptions we make. But what will happen actually? The rain will come and stop the project, and because of the elections, the labor force may not turn out. So we have to mention it in the business case itself, on the project charter itself. What are the assumptions and constraints for this project? There may be some space constraint, or there may be some working time restrictions. We cannot, if within a central business district, you cannot be working during the daytime. You have to work during the night time after the offices are closed, then during the weekends. So like this, any constraint is there, we have to see it. And preliminary budget, and then schedule estimates. Cost and the time estimates in a preliminary manner. We call it as a rough order of magnitude, ROM magnitude estimate. And assess potential risk. What are the risks associated with while taking up this project? And establish benefits and value metrics. How we are going to measure the benefits, by means of a cost, or is a tangible benefit or intangible benefit, and it is going to be for a company or an individual or for general public, and how to measure the performance. All that you can go through it. You have to analyze it, and at the end of it, what you get is a business case. This is why you have to outline the business case, and when you get the business case, and that becomes the lead document for you to prepare the project charter and the project management plan, which is following. Then when we say that, further going into the why the stakeholder needs to be involved in the beginning, as I explained earlier, there are different ways a project can be done, and there are different methodologies. There is a waterfall methodology and agile methodology. These are the two major categories of project development methodologies. Agile is the one now becoming very popular, and even construction, people are still challenging whether agile is possible or not. But construction by default is an agile project from the beginning, and in between, we started doing waterfall for process generalization. And construction by default is a agile process, which you will come to know when you come into real field experience, and then after 2-3 years of experience, and then going through the further documents on this, you will see that. And if the client chooses, or if the end user or the project sponsor chooses the waterfall, and it is going to be very tedious, and then you have to plan everything in advance, and then it takes a lot of time for the benefit to be realized. If it is an agile process, it goes on incremental basis. So every now and then, the project value is realized by the owner or who's investing the money. So in a nutshell, you see the difference between the benefit realization. The x-axis is the time, and y-axis is how much benefit you get it. In the waterfall, you have to wait for the whole project duration to realize the benefit. Whereas in the agile or scrum project development methodology, you get incremented increase in the benefits in terms of money or in terms of services or business value maximization. So this is a very principled decision. Based on this, everything will change. For example, when in construction, if you want to have a big complex of 100 villas, you can do all the villas at the same time. You can start all the villas at the same time, and you have to wait until the whole duration for all villas to be released at the same time. This is called a waterfall. But if the client doesn't want to wait for a long time, 3 4 years for completion of all villas, and he cannot wait, there is an agile methodology, which means you have to build focus only on first 10 villas or first 5 villas or first area by area. We can zone it, and then for that zone alone, you can plan for roads, and then you can plan for electricity, water supply, sewage treatment plant, all that. So when you follow waterfall, it is enough you build a big septic, this sewage treatment plant, big single sewage treatment plant. But when the agile methodology is chosen, where the client wants to sell the um, villas set by set, batch by batch, you have to plan for a modularized sewage treatment plant, which means as and when the capacity increases, you should be able to add more capacity to the sewage treatment plant. So now you understand why this project management methodology also defines how complicated or how important the planning will change. So now we meet with the stakeholders. A stakeholder is a term which you would be coming across almost 100 times every day when you get into a project. And you'll become irritated after a few years. You may even become irritated to hear the word stakeholders. Stakeholder is the one which is who is influencing it. He may be an individual, or it may be an organization, or it is maybe a group of people within the organization who are influencing or get influenced by the outcome of the project. So this is the proper definition which PMI is giving for a stakeholder. For example, the contractor, he is a stakeholder. The stakeholder can be internal and external. A project team member, the planning engineer himself is a stakeholder, is an internal stakeholder. The finance department as a whole, a group of people within an organization, they are internal stakeholders. But the owner is an external stakeholder, because all these people are either influencing or get influenced by the outcome of the project. So all these people are stakeholders, but based on the role in the organization or in the project, each one will have his own expectations, limitations, restrictions, whims, fancies, wish list. There may be dream. Everyone will have their own image or perception about the project. So the project manager's biggest task is to bring all of them onto a common platform to make them understand this is the project and this is what you can expect. And the planning engineer, by way of proper planning, he can also set the expectation to these stakeholders, when who should do what they can expect, what will become, what they will get, what they will not get, what they may get if time permits. Like this kind of setting the expectation at the beginning should happen by way of planning. And then who should respond in what time, within which time he should respond, when they have to release the money. For example, the finance department should have the clarity on at what stages they have to release the money. So for this reason, we have to meet with stakeholders to understand their requirements, their expectations, their aspirations, and make your planning to suit them accordingly. For example, one stakeholder may not be willing in the project outcome, but he wants to have only monthly report. So unless you meet up with the stakeholder and understand his requirements, your communication plan will go for a toss. So you will not send him any report, and then he is going to be worried about what happens to the money invested, or what happens to whether his interests are taken care while executing the project or not. For this reason, you have to meet the stakeholders and collect the requirement before even you start planning, and then who can influence your project, and you can pay more attention to his requirement. And there is a stakeholder analysis, there is a process, a separate procedure and process for this. It is a knowledge area, one of the 10 knowledge areas in PMI. Next is the define project scope. This is the crux. This is the heart of any project. Um, 'Cause one of the reasons why any project fails is the very poor scope definition. We fail to define what exactly needs to be done. What is the project itself? This we can say as the heart of any project. To capture the features or requirements of the project which we are doing, and categorize them and rank them. How to rank? There are certain categories here. It is called Moscow. Must have, should have, could have, or will not have. It won't have this facility, this feature, like this. In different parlance, it can have, should have, dream, wish list. Like this, we can categorize it. Here, we are categorizing like must have, should have, could have, can have, won't have. Like that, you can categorize and rank them the requirements. It is called the requirement analysis, we can say, and tie them back to the project goals and objectives. Each requirement can be connected, related to the project objective. If it is really related or not. If it is not related, it is a wish list or it is out of the scope. We can just remove it from the scope also. So try to connect the relation between the goals and objectives of the project organization or to the project. Then ensure time and cost. Establish your baseline. So based once the scope is defined, the scope that becomes the scope baseline. Beyond that, you will not do anything at this time, and within this time, or within this cost. So this is called a baseline. Baseline is the reference scale. This is called, you'll in a project you will have three kind of baseline: cost baseline, schedule baseline, and quality baseline. Also you will have. Then list your assumptions. Any scope should have its own assumptions and limitations. Identify your risk, and notion is a proof of a concept or something. You have to get a notion and attach it to it. Allow for growth. Any project is dynamic in nature. If not short, any long-term project, it has to allow for capacity development as well as the uncertainties in the cost, uncertainty in the any kind of uncertainty, and some kind of quantity improvement also to be there. That also we have to factor in. For example, if you build a water tank for a population of 100,000, and it is not going to be 100,000 forever. So in your scope itself, you have to allow for some 20%. There are some formulas to assess how many percentage in every 10-year population growth. There are various formulas. You have to choose the correct one and then allow for growth. This is what is called allow for growth in that. Factors on contingency. Contingency in the sense some unforeseen things will happen, like rain, like this kind of COVID-19. So you have to allow for some contingencies. And in project management, contingency analysis itself is a very big topic. There are management reserves are there, contingency reserves are there. So this reserve analysis, you'll study very detailed manner about this. Offer up a prototype when things are not clear enough. So this is one such important while deriving the scope. Certain stakeholders will not be able to explain it in proper terms because they are not technical people. They may not be able to explain it in words. In those circumstances, create a sample like a painting sample or the glazing sample. You create a sample and then get this. Is this what you require? Like that, you have to throw questions and then you define the scope. If not, they'll be thinking something that they expressed it, but what they expressed you have understood in a different fashion. To avoid this kind of scope creeps, and it is better to have a prototype. This is one of the techniques of getting the requirement from the end user. We have to use all these techniques, not only one. We have to verbally talk it and then return, then brainstorming sessions, and then this kind of prototypes. Also, we have to do it to define the scope, to get the requirement and to define the scope. Set goals and objectives. Once the scope is ready, scope baseline is ready, then you have to create a WBS before you proceed with project scheduling, actual scheduling. So how to define the objectives, goals and objectives connected to the work breakdown structure. At this stage, when you go into project planning, it, this is called the WBS creation stage, where you connect your goals and objective to the WBS. And there are certain acronyms that tell you how you have to set your goal. The goal should be SMART, which means it should be specific to that area of the project or area of the work you are involved in that particular part of the work. Then measurable. What cannot be measured cannot be managed. So it should be measurable. Your scope, whatever you say, should be measurable by any means. It may be by the cost or by time or by any quality metrics. You should be able to measure it. Then attainable. So it should be realistically possible to achieve. The scope should be realistically possible to achieve. Then relevant to the objective of the company, organization, or an individual. It should be relevant to the project as a whole, and time based. It should not take endless time. So within the time you have to complete it. So it should have any activity, any scope activity should have its own time, when to start, when to finish it. So this is called, in short, we call it as a SMART goals. And outline the deliverable. When you ask a question about what needs to be done at the end of the project or at the different stages of the project, what you get answered is called a deliverable. A deliverable is a product or a service or result created or performed in the completion of a project. This is called a deliverable in simple terms. There are internal deliverables and external deliverables. The internal deliverable means which is not directly faced by the customer or client, which means it can be your daily schedule with your team member, or it can be which is not connected with the end user or the sponsor or the project owner. Within the project team members, the different stages are, if you have fixed it, and these are called internal deliverables. For a task within the project team, what the civil engineer should do, what the structural engineer should do, what the electrical engineer should do. So like this, within the project team internally, that is called, any deliverables is that team deliverables. These are called internal deliverables, and which are directly serving the client needs, they are called external deliverables. And during project planning or going forward, or by now, you could be having some doubts, like we hear the words like scope, task, deliverable, and goals. You may be getting confused about what is what. Give a thought about it. Can you differentiate between all these? Scope versus task versus deliverable versus goals. So for example, if you take going to Dubai is your project. That is the scope of the project. As a high level scope of the project is going to Dubai. Dubai trip, your Dubai trip is the project, that is the project scope. The task is packing your things, arranging for the air ticket, apply for visa, travel. These are the tasks involved in the project. This is called a task. Deliverable is called, once you book a ticket, the deliverable is the printed ticket or your e-ticket in your mobile wallet. It's called a deliverable for that stage. And goal is the one which comes the last. For example, as we take a project as a whole, landing at Dubai airport is the deliverable, and goal is as a whole. If you take a project itself, and Dubai trip is the goal of the project. So if you want to connect this, if you go to the internet and you see what is the difference between all these, they are all confusing terms with the terms associated with software only. There's nothing is connected to general life or construction. In construction, we can say this scope, building a house. If you take, building a house is the scope of the work. Task is where concreting, excavation, reinforcement. These are all tasks. Deliverable at a lower level is called the plinth level, footing level, lintel level, roof level, finishing work. These are called deliverables. Goal is the building your house. That is the goal. And when you take as at the macro level, the deliverable and goal at the end of the project is the same. The deliverable should meet the goal, and that is the time the incrementally meet the goal. That is the time the project is complete. When all deliverables are completed, the goal is achieved. So now I think you could understand the difference between all these terms. If you still have any doubt, you can ask a question at a later stage. And develop project schedule. Then once you know the scope is given and then everything is defined, now it is time for developing the project schedule. By this time, you will be having the preliminary cost estimate, time estimate, your WBS in place, WBS dictionary in place. Then they define the schedule logic. Each organization has their own schedule design logics. When if you ask me what is the question of design logic, the schedule logic, every company have their own way of working and assigning the resources, their technology dependent. Based on all this, schedule logic should be there. For example, if you take software company, 8 hours is the lowest WBS level they have it, which means 8 hours is a manual working day. 1 man day is what they are counting at the lowest level. But in my company, it's about 3,600 hours is what is called as a lowest level of WBS. You see the difference. In my company has 3,600 hours because we are the owners. We don't want to micromanage any project to a contractor, which the contractor will do it, further monitoring, micro monitoring and all. So we don't want to go below 3,600 hours. So like this, every organization has schedule logic. Another example is cost is the only measure of project progress in my company. But many companies say that cost is not a measure because they all say that quantity is the measure of a project progress. And another company told this whatever cost or whatever quantities are, we have to complete it within this time. So whatever time lapse, that is the correct measure of project progress. So there is nothing called right or wrong here. It based on what is their convenience. We from SABIC has defined cost as the only measure because it is most realistic. When the contractor completes the project or completes some work, he will not stop from claiming money from you. He will not give the work. He will not give the work at free of cost. When he has done the work, he will definitely claim money the following week or following month. So cost is that is why we have fixed cost as the measure of project progress. Like this, each company will have their schedule logic, and we have about 80 pages of schedule logic. And choose a scheduling tool. There are different scheduling tools available in the market and in practice also. In practice here in all Gulf regions, the Primavera is predominant, but in India still people are using MS projects. So each has its own ups and downs and pros and cons. Based on your project, you can choose your scheduling tool. For example, if you are on the owner side, you can still have Excel itself is enough for some owners. Some owners, MS project is enough. But if you're a contractor in Gulf, it is a must to use project Primavera P6 because that has the ability to tweak the cost loading of resources and resource smoothing, resource leveling can be done easily. Because of these advantages and disadvantages, choosing a correct scheduling tool is also important while developing a project schedule. Then define activities. From the scope and WBS, you can elaborate further for all the data activity, the define activities, then sequence activities, which comes first, which comes next, which follows which activity, which are done parallel, which are done sequential. Like that, you can sequence the activities and create a relationship, start to start, finish to start. Like that, you can create relationships, and then estimate activity resources, estimate activity durations, and develop project schedule. These are the activities involved while developing a project schedule. But some of these may fall into different knowledge areas, different process groups, but still not planning process group, but different knowledge areas. But still, all these are done almost at the same time while defining your project schedule. Any doubt? Am I audible?
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now assign task to resources. This is one other important task for a planning engineer while doing a project, while planning a project. Here, you would have the time for each activity, and then cost also you can load it if you are choosing the right project scheduling tool. And next is the resources. The resources can be material resources, equipments, or mostly manpower resources also. Based on the task, each task and duration and quality standards, all these have to be will have a varied requirements. Number of people may change, the skill level of people may change, and the equipment they use may change. When this equipment will come into site, when it will go out of the site. So all these will come as part of a document called RAM. Is called the resource assignment matrix. The resource assignment matrix is what you are seeing on the screen now. Like this, you can see the mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, structural engineer, and these are the components in the oil and gas industry in the project. So you will see mechanical engineer in the vertical column. You will see how many days or how many hours the mechanical engineer is required. And if the horizontal column, if you see the last column, you see for this particular pro TL and how much time, how much resources it takes, how many people should work. So like this, you can have it. This is called a RAM. It's a resource assignment matrix. So like this, you should be able to assign each resource, and this will guide us what to recruit, which kind of people, what qualifications are required for the people, what experience required, and then when they have to come in to report to the site, when this resource will be released from the site. So all these will be available here. Then assign risk and planned responses. This is one more important area in planning. As part of the planning, there are risk specialists, but still a planning engineer should also be involved in defining what are the risks and how we are going to mitigate it, and provide enough provisions, enough mechanisms to handle inbuilt within the project schedule. That is why planning engineers should be involved in identifying the risk until implementing the risk responses. The risk can be categorized as an unexpected event, even unexpected likelihood of events. So to explain you in a simple language, you see a shallow pond, a guy is trying to cross, and this is such a long tray of water, is a long paddle pool of water. He cannot jump over it. He should walk in that. But by walking in this shallow depth, he is not going to fall down or drown. So which means there's a high probability that he will walk into it, and there is a low impact, very low impact. He is not going to fall down. And at the same time, you see the next, the below one second picture, there is a small ditch like a drainage, and there is a low probability that he will put one of his foot exactly into that drain, but it's still a low impact. He's not going to die, or he is not going to be drowned in the drainage. So it is a low probability, low impact. But you see there's a deep pit in the third picture, and the probability is less. He can even jump over it. There is the probability of him falling down is less, but the impact is very high. And the last picture, the probability is also high, the impact also high. So this is how you can, by qualitatively, you can categorize the risk. So there are different ways of risk ranking. One of them is called the qualitative assessment of risk. The other one is the quantitative assessment of risk. Many companies use different formats and formulas and their own methodologies for risk assessment before actually they get into the project. And each risk will have a mitigation plan, and nothing comes free of cost. Any mitigation plan, that comes with the cost. Based on this, a buffer is built in the estimate, time estimate, as well as cost estimate. So that is why this becomes important. If it is you can see from here the low probability, low impact, or L, and then medium, high, and very high, where the impact is catastrophic and it is going to happen very frequently, and that is the highest. Where it is not likely to happen, and then very incidental, like a small first aid kind of incident, it is low. So this is called qualitative uh, risk analysis. The other one is called quantitative. Quantitative in the sense there are different formulas, and then one such famous one is all computers nowadays we are using it. So I forgot. Okay, there are qualitative and quantitative risk assessment. And one more thing, the risk need not be a negative incident. It can be a positive incident also. The risk, positive in the sense, it can be an opportunity also. Risk need not be only a threat. It can be an opportunity also. The opportunities are called positive risk, and then the threats are called negative risk. If it is a negative risk, there is a risk management strategy. If it is a negative risk, we'll try to avoid it, shift it, transfer it for a price. And if it is a positive risk, we want to have maximize it. If it is positive, it's an opportunity. We want to maximize the opportunity. This is how the risk we have to manage it, and all through the project we have to manage this risk, and the planning is also part of it. Then comes the another one. It is not that you simply keep doing the work. You have to tell the world that you are doing the work. Otherwise, you will go unnoticed. So the project reporting itself is about 1.5 hours. I have given a lecture earlier in this series. So those who have attended can reconnect with that, where it exactly fits in the project planning function. So there are different advantages of preparing a project progress report, and why the planning engineer should take care of it, because in the project planning itself, you should fix the methodology of, or the frequency, or the content, or the type of the report, which will go into all stakeholders, so that they are well informed, and what has been achieved so far in the project, and what is happening right now, current week, what is the project progress, and what's coming up in the future. And this is one more objective of the report. And issues, risk, and change request. What are the current issues in the status, or open risk which are yet to be resolved, and change request, any change request is raised or not, and change order history. So far in the project, how many change orders have been given, and then what is the total value of it? Is it exceeding the budget or not? So this information should be captured. Why? There are many areas, many issues which needs approval or consent, or money to be released, decision to be made. So the stakeholders should know that what is expected out of them, what they have to react to in that report. So this is why the project reporting is also important for a planning engineer to carry out. Then the milestones and deliverables. This is for the overall project sponsor and owner to review that where exactly is the project. Is it going in the right direction against the baselines? There is a scope baseline, cost baseline, and schedule baseline. Three constraints will be there. There are different methodology of assessing the project progress. One of the famous one is the EVM. And EVM also involves all these triple constraints. So based on that EVM formula, you can define whether the project is ahead of the schedule, over the budget, or under the budget, or behind the schedule, or how much is it. And if you want to accelerate it, how much cost we can spend extra on it, as long as the overall budget is not crossed. So because of this, the progress report is a must. The another important advantage of progress report is this forms as a reference document in future when there is a dispute between a contractor and the client arises. These documents, if it is a contractor's monthly report is going to save him by providing the backtracked information, whether he has done it, or what time he has done, what speed he has done, whether this delay is accountable to client, or this is attributable to the owner. This kind of dispute resolution, these progress reports and the photographic reports, the progress report also will have photographs and sometimes videos also. So all these are going to be helpful for a client as well as the contractor at a great extent in resolving the disputes at a later stage in a long-term project. Then, which is not listed in the project planning stages, but still, this activity is important. Adjust the schedule to the changing needs. See, any project plan or project management plan in proper is not a sacrosanct for the entire stretch of the project. Anything can happen during the course of the project. The owner can change the business line, or his business interest may change, or the market demand may change, so that it needs some fine tuning, some additional work, or some deletion of work from the original scope. So change is inevitable in any project. That is why the Project Management Institute has an integrated change control process itself, which means they recognize that it is impossible to do a project without change. How effectively we deal it and how we avoid it to a maximum possible is where the planning efficiency and project management efficiency comes into picture. So change is always good, but how we handle it, how our planning is already inbuilt, and to adopt this kind of changes is where our planning efficiency um, is evaluated, I can say. The following guide will help you manage it. How we can manage the change. The PMI has a process for it, but in general, we identify the change and we review the impact of the change and what kind of impacts will be there. Will it be the cost or the time or both, or where the quality will be affected? Then we impact it. Then there is a change control board. They will take a decision. They evaluate the change, and if really required, they will take a decision. For example, the Sukhoi aircraft, what we are having in the Indian Air Force, that has 3,000 change orders. 3,000 change requests came into that in the making of that aircraft. This was told by the managing director of Hindustan Aeronautics during a PMI conference in India many years before. So this is one example I'm telling you. Change is inevitable in any project. Then, because it is going to maximize the business value or it is going to be helpful to the end user, then we can allow the change. Then, when you make the change, when the change control board approves it, it's not the end of it. We have to update the project schedule, incorporating the change requests, incorporating the change orders, the approved changes. Then, it's not only you update the schedule, then you have to publish it to all stakeholders so that the change will come into effect, and then everyone is aware of these changes, and then all their actions will follow the changed requirement of any project. Then when you know all this, you will still have a doubt. Okay, then by the way I explained things, it looks like the the planning engineer should be a Superman. No, the planning engineer should have some kind of minimum attributes to become a good planner. Number one, he should be proactive. Why he should be proactive? The stakeholders come with different categories, as the people who are searching blindfolded in an elephant and thinking their own dreams and whims and fancies. They have their own imaginations. So to bring about the real requirement, the project manager should be asking the right questions at the right time to the right people, and he should know how to pose this question, and the quality of answer also depends on the type of questions you ask. Many times I have also experienced in life. So he should be proactive to bring about the requirement in a language what is best understood by each stakeholder. And he should be communicative. So it is not only that you get the requirement to plan well everything, and you should be able to communicate the correct information to the correct people so that what is expected out of them, they are able to deliver it as contribute to the project. If you don't communicate, they will not be able to influence, or they will not be able to respond to your requirement of the project. And third, consistent. It is not that the initial stages he does something and then later he gets depressed, because the project management and particularly the planning engineer job is we can say a ruthless job. No one cares for you because everyone is a master in his area, and then the planning engineer is a civil engineering degree holder with 1.5 years experience. No one will try to respond to you. So after 1 month, you lose the heat, and then you stop cooling off. So you're not, nobody is responding. No, it's not. So once you become proactive and communicative, everyone will be interested to talk to you and explain their requirement in a way that can really contribute to the project. So this consistently you have to insist on all the proactive and the communicative. You have to exhibit all these qualities and traits of a project planner consistently, so that information keeps flowing in. So all can be built in your project planning, and it should be organized. Once you get the information, it should be organized so that it goes into the right place in your project plan and then gets tracked without getting missed out. And open-minded. Why he should be open-minded? A planning engineer normally goes with a minimum experience and basic qualification is civil engineer. You rarely come to see an electrical engineer or a mechanical engineer becoming a planning engineer. Very rarely, unless the company itself is a MEP organization. Very, very rare species, the MEP planning engineers. So what happens? As a civil engineer, you know what are the sequences of construction, formwork, reinforcement, concrete, de-shuttering, all that. But when it comes to MEP activities, I have seen many planning engineers, they don't want to take risk, and they have a fear to go and talk to the mechanical engineers who have 25 years of experience. So they have a fear, or they have a hesitation to go and ask what is that, what are the activities involved in it. So what happens? They simply key in the start date and the end date without even assessing whether it will really take that much time or whether that much time is adequate or not. But when it goes to mechanical engineer, it goes back and forth, and they give something, and then finally the MEP part of the schedule normally gets goofed up. So in other projects, so what we do it, or a proactive project planner should do, engage with each of the specialized engineers and then understand it and put it in the schedule, and back and forth you only proactively go and check with them whether it is okay or not, and if not, ask them with some documents to show, or previous project records you can refer, and then get back this and then perfect your MEP part of the scheduling. Unless you are open-minded, you will not be able to do it. This is one reason a planning engineer should be open-minded, and he should be a learner. Everything in a new project environment, everything will become a surprise, everything will become a novelty. So the project planner should have an ability to quickly learn and continue to learn to become a best planning engineer. Okay, then when you become a best planning engineer, is it that you will never make mistake? No, still you will make mistake. And pitfalls, common pitfalls of project planning. There are few common pitfalls every planning engineer or most of the planning engineer out there are making. One is the wrong estimate about the time as well as cost. Wrong estimates, inadequate scope definition at the beginning. This will create a scope creep. It is called a scope creep when you define something and at the end or during the course of the progress, if the client is insisting additional things, and then it creates confusion in the scope, who will do it or who need not do it. So this is called scope creep. This is one of the reasons of project failure as a whole: wrong estimates and inadequate scope definition, and an incomplete understanding of project requirement. This is why in the initial stages of this presentation also we have seen how to collect the requirement from the stakeholders. Unrealistic project deadline. So the planning, the project manager and the clients, everyone is all senior people, highly learned, highly qualified, experienced, and they will pressurize the planning engineer. No, you do this, so that within this 3 months you complete this and all. They pressurize them and they direct them to give and agree and make a project schedule which is unrealistic. So at that time, when you are open-minded, when you have already learned and when you are organized, you'll be able to justify that this much quantity is there, and then this is what it takes. This is the manpower planned, because the contractor over last 8 months, the maximum manpower he was able to mobilize was only this much. And because of these reasons, and this whatever you are insisting to complete this activity within 5 days is not possible. So like this, the planning engineer should be able to justify and stand up to his planning duration, supported by the logics and supported by the numbers. So planning engineer is a person who can see danger from a very far away. One of the examples is in one project. One planning engineer came to me when I was sitting alone and told that the contractor is going to stop the work in another 4 months. I was open-minded, like a planning engineer trait, and I asked him why is that. He told the work in progress in the project is every month it keeps on increasing. It already crossed 12%, 13% in the last 1 month or 2 months. He said 13, 15%. So exactly as he predicted, I have taken it very lightly, but after 4 months, the contractor stopped the work, saying that there is no money with me, because the contractor is doing the work. Because of certain small petty incidents, he is unable to complete the work. Because he is unable to complete the work, he cannot build those quantities, which means he has invested money, did the work, but because of the small issues, that is not able to be quantified for billing purposes, which means the work is done at site, work in progress, WIP we call in construction language. So when the WIP went to touch the 24%, the contractor stopped working and he raised his hands, no money. So what we did, we had to pay additional mobilization advance after getting the additional bond and all. So like this, the planning engineer is the person who can see the bad things from a very far away, and if you are a good project planning engineer, you can brief your project manager at a very early stage itself. Not following schedule logics and improper tool selection. This is one of the reasons of pitfalls of project planning and project failure, also not following the schedule logics. For example, if you take the wrong duration as the baseline, then you will measure the project with the wrong scale only. So while making the baseline itself, you will make this mistake. Not identifying the limitations. So each system or each machine has its own limitation. So while preparing the time estimate, if you don't consider the limitations of individuals or limitations of equipment, you will get into troubles. For example, if the election comes that in an hour, any puja holidays comes in Indian parlance, the puja holidays time, normally laborers will go to, all Bengali people will go Orissa, and then they will disappear from the site. 1 month they will not come back. So this is the labor limitation which we should consider while preparing the project schedule itself. And wrong resource assignment. For a person with a mechanical engineering, you will get electrical engineering, and for a 500 kilowatt generator, you will give a different capacity panel which is incompatible. So this kind of a wrong resource assignment also will become a pitfall in planning. And poor communication. This is one of the biggest pitfalls which most of the planning engineers make. And lack of progress measurement metrics. This is another thing. Most planning engineers, they spend more time and focus more on making the plan itself. But how we are going to measure it, in what intervals we are going to measure it, in what units we are going to measure it, they don't know it, or mostly challenged many times. So this also is one of the pitfalls which we need to take care. And then poor risk identification. While identifying the risk, if you miss to identify a risk, or if you wrongly identify the risk, or if you wrongly rank the risk, categorize it, then also we'll get into trouble while executing the project. And So currently, if everything is okay, then the planning, the way which we plan, is not going to be the same going forward, because the COVID-19 has completely changed the way we work, we eat. It changed our eating habits, it changed our working habits, it changed our living as a whole. So everything keeps changing. Then the planning function also undergoing change, already undergoing change. What can happen to the planning? Machines can plan, yes. There is an automation coming up in planning. Most of the planning functions, the integration functions, planning functions, they are all getting automated. For example, the daily stand-up meetings, this can be automated. This can be automated in the sense the stand-up meetings can happen in an environment where everyone will have a mobile phone, and then they type their things. One such example is earlier we used to have a toolbox meetings. This is equal to stand-up daily stand-up meetings. This toolbox meetings, because of COVID, it is completely eliminated, and the WhatsApp videos are going, WhatsApp messages are going, and while the laborers are going the bus from their labor camp to the site, a video is displayed. Whatever the toolbox meeting, now the safety engineer, safety officer is doing the video and then displaying it in the bus itself during the bus journey. And then how to test them? While they get down, the safety officer is randomly asking some question about the video, whether they have really watched the video or they were watching any Facebook or something. So this is this is how the way we work is getting changed. This daily stand-up meetings is changed because in this way. This is one example. Like this, the monthly progress meeting also has changed. Now there is no more meeting hall, meeting room. It is all closed. Person face-to-face meetings are all closed. Now everything is in the social media platform or electronic platform we have. And client meetings, the same way client meetings. How this can be automated? See, now even in today's context also, with all this technology, we are still typing the MOM, and maybe in future, or it is coming, while talking itself, whatever he has spoken, each party is spoken will get recorded, and the MOM can be automatically generated. Nobody needs to sit and write in today's technology world. No need of sitting and writing. The moment you log into your meeting platform, your attendance is registered. When you came into the meeting, when you went out, will be registered. So your meeting attendance is automated already. And your whatever you are speaking, your camera mic is there, it can be recorded, and then speech to text software can translate that into a text, and then the MOM can be automatically generated. And then review of contracts with the lawyer. This also can take place with the computer. Without lawyer also it can. There are some software, when you feed it the contract document, that will review and then say any clash is there between the contract clauses, or everything is unique or not, that will define and tell you. Any duplication of classes are there also, it can identify and tell. Check team performance every week. See, there are many collaborating tools have come into effect now, like Microsoft Teams. So they are tracking your activities when a task is assigned to you, when you complete the task and put it back into the workflow. Everything is monitored. So your team performance every week, or even daily, or even hourly, you can be tracked. Generate a progress report every week or month. Based on all this progress, when the project manager is updating the project schedule with the actual site quantities or achieved units and milestones, then the project report can automatically be generated and sent to the client. Perform project document backup every week. So this is already in practice. This is we can make a calendar, backup calendar, so that it automatically takes backup during the weekends when the site is on holiday Friday. Then all the project documentation can be backed up to your central server. Track unpaid invoices. If you are a contractor, your invoice tracking can be, you can set the dates, which are the bills, which are the invoices more than 15 days old. It can track and give a report to you every week or every 15 days, and pay your utility office bills, regular office bills. It can be paid. Invoice work at the end of every month. This will be very helpful for a contractor. Once the planning engineer of contractor is updating the quantities, it not only updates the schedule, also updates the invoice. With the last month invoice, it will add up the quantities and total billing in the invoicing, everything will be generated automatically. This is where the planning will transform. For that, what you need is all software we need. And already the MS Project and Primavera, which are very predominant ruling the market, they already have slowly they are adding some options and some feasibilities that the more cost can be loaded, much tracking can happen, some automation. Already some level of automation is there. In future, because of this too much competition, the list in the screen or only about few out of about 192 software are available for project management alone today. 192 software I counted. I don't know how many in the world so far, but I counted 192. And these are a few of them. The Monday.com, Rike are very famous ones you can see from the YouTube. But on the field, Primavera and MS Project are predominantly used. So you can try. Some of them are free, and some of them are trial versions. You can try one of them to for your small project. Try with your some small house building project or any small activity project. And going forward, you have to keep studying yourself to keep updated with the technology and terminologies. Being students now, I don't recommend you to go to the PMI practice standards, which are at the second line. So these the language is very tough and then very dry language, like IS code or any Indian penal code like that. You will so don't go into that first. Better go through some light books, light languages books, which are explained in some pictures in a graphical and funny way. Then you go once you come into a field and then gain little more experience when you are on the pathway to prepare for PMP or CAPM. I suggest you go through the PMI documents, and then I strongly recommend all of you to become PMI student members to get benefited over a period of time. And then I don't know who has done it, but when I searched in the internet, something says Benjamin Franklin, someone says some stack, someone says some Alpha, Thomas Alva Edison, like this. Someone says George Washington, but whoever said it, irrespective of that, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Wonderful presentation.
Have I taken much more time?
No, sir. It's given time only.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe a few questions are from the audience. They asked. One is Saidar asked on the slide number 19. If you go 19, he wanted due to network issue, he could not able to get it. He was asking. Yeah.
Yes.
This one he wanted you to explain a little bit.
Yeah. See, change, I have explained enough about the change is unavoidable. When there is a change, someone will identify the change. Normally, change can come from anywhere. It can come from internally from us as well as from externally. For example, we were working from 9 to 5. Now, because of COVID-19, government has put a restriction on the working time, and now it is a change. It is a change for a contractor. The contractor is eligible to claim extra time. In India and in all other countries, extra time only, no money. But only in Qatar, as per because their general law is that the contractor should be financially compensated also. So all across Gulf, the contractors are only Qatar contractors are getting additional money also along with the additional time for this project, because their change control process is like that. In the country's change control process is like that. The contractor is reimbursed both time and money. Like this, each company or each project will have a change control board. Change can come from internal or external, as I told. It can come from a project team member also. It can come from an end user, or it can come from a sponsor, or it can come from government regulations, new taxes. Like this change can come from anywhere. So it is the responsibility of the project team to come to document this change and send a change request to the change control board. The change control board will review it against the baseline. What is the impact on the baseline, three baselines? What is the impact and what is the benefit? If the benefit is outnumbering the impact, the change control board will either approve it or disapprove it. If it is disapproved, that's all, it is done, and it is no impact on the project. As usual, we keep going. But if the change is already approved, so what will happen? The approved changes should go into the baselines. If the baseline will go the change, either the plan, project plan will change, project schedule will change, project time will change. Sometimes instead of marble, granite will come into picture. The end user may ask, no, we don't want marble, we want granite. Or if it is already gray granite and he wants the black granite, which is costly, and which has schedule impact, cost impact, and the scope impact also, because quality is changed. So it has three. Then the budget will change, and the duration, because the black granite has a long lead time because it is a premium material. So you need to change. What are the things to be changed? You have to change the scope baseline. You have to change the project schedule. You have to change the project budget baseline also. So once it is changed, you have to inform all the people involved who are connected with those documents. Almost all people will be connected with at least one of these documents, and you have to convey to them that the change is approved and this is the change, and then you should record the change log. Change log will be updated like this. This is a process, big process in project management process, one of the project management process. Have I explained?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Who will do it? See, all these will do as a project team will do the whole things, but the who will change the project schedule and other connected document is the planning engineer. That is why it becomes part of the planning. I have added this, adjust the schedule to the changing needs, is one of the planning functions.
There is one question, question from Kazim Ali. Sir, how to manage the material got waste like cement in the COVID situation? Maybe due to COVID, a lot of projects are on hold. Maybe the cement has gone for waste. He's asking how to avoid it.
Yeah, here also the same thing happened. Here after 6 months, we don't recommend this. So what we have done it in some kind of filling, we have approved this. The lump, it becomes lumps. It is useless. So we are using this as a filling material in some places, and it becomes a support because before we erect the shuttering at the ground level, some supports, concrete blocks, we use it as a support. So instead of that, they are using this as a block. They have asked for some approval, and we have given the approval to use it as a filling material in the ground.
Any questions from the audience? Anup Shetty. Thank you. Thank you. A lot of thank you and appreciation
I
message.
was expecting some question on the risk.
Yeah. I was also